everyone, it's Misty here, design team member for Stamp Anything. Welcome back to another Fannie Friday. In today's video, we are working with Miss Lydia, and I'm going to be doing something a little different. And I've come up with this little series of cards. Come with me, okay? So last week's card was very dark, very spooky, very grungy. Today's card's going to be kind of in the middle, and next week's card is going to be light and fluffy. Because here's the thing, I hate crafting for Halloween. Like, I don't do it on my own channel. I start a holiday card series the Wednesday after Labor Day, and we're holiday cards until December 25th. So getting in the spooky mood is really hard for me. But so that's why you're going to see like a progression. It just kind of popped in my head. I'm like, oh, let's see if this works. So what I'm doing is I'm die cutting a lot of pieces. So I'm using the Backyard Builder dies, the kind of hedge dies, leaf dies. I'm using both of the tombstones, and one of them I'm cutting out twice. I'm cutting out the bat, and then I'm also cutting out the spider web. Now for the spider web, I'm putting on a piece of double-sided adhesive paper. You guys have heard me lament about this over and over and over. When it's teeny tiny like this, I want the sticky back so I can just turn it into a sticker and go from there. So I am using the world's dumbest blending brush. But all of mine are dirty. Like, all of my makeup brushes are dirty, and all of my crafting brushes are dirty. So this is what we get. But I am using Obsidian, the ink from Stamp Anything, to add some black to it. My thought with this card was this is going to be kind of like at twilight or when the sun is setting, and so the stuff in the foreground would be kind of black. I mean, I try not to get artsy-fartsy with it. You guys have heard me say before, like even in my coloring, I don't really necessarily care that much about where light is coming unless I'm doing a one-layer scene card. Speaking of coloring, I wasn't recorded that part, and we'll talk about that when we get closer to that. But I wanted everything to have this bit of black to it. I mean, other than the bat and the spider web. Okay, so I pulled a couple of dies, Polaroid dies from my computer, Misty, my stash, and I decided that I wanted it to look like Lydia was in the graveyard taking pictures, and that's kind of where this whole idea stems from. So I am using the cloud stencil and the orange ink, and I am just ink blending. Now this looks kind of more brown, and that's because I already had gray on this and I hadn't washed it. Fun fact, if you use alcohol with these inks, like if it's a hybrid ink, it'll come right off. And the same thing goes for your Copics. I am notorious for getting Copic ink all over other Copic markers. So, yeah. So anyway, I used washi tape to put them down so I could give them the same clouds. And then I'm going to do the backdrop like that as well. I believe there are 3 clouds that come in this stencil, but this is the only one I pulled out. And I was like, you know what? I'm not fussing. So this is what we're doing. Once I get the orange down, I'm going to bring in a little bit of yellow, and then I'm going to bring a little bit of pink at the top edge, just a little tiny baby bit. To kind of, get more of that kind of twilight look. And then I thought, okay, her pictures may be Polaroids, but they wouldn't be, like bright white. So I didn't add any extra ink to this ink blending tool, and I just went ahead and went over it. For the card, this is a A2 size card base that I pick up off Amazon. They sell they're not folded, scored A2 size cards, and they are the best thing ever in my life. I do like to make cardstock card bases sometimes, but for the most part, especially if I'm doing a landscape card like this, I really like it. It's a little bit harder when it's a portrait style, so where it's up and down instead of side, like a hot dog instead of a hamburger. But when it's like this, I don't mind at all. So I put part of the hedge, or I will be putting part of the hedge in front. I lost all of that footage. Misty, you need a whooping. Okay, so I've colored Lydia, and I only colored her hair and her face. And I decided that I wanted her hat to have some texture. Why I thought I could stamp on black with black and see it, I will never know. How you could have, or how I could have made that work would be to add some either clear embossing powder, because these are pigment hybriding, so they will stay wet enough, long enough for you to put embossing powder on, and that would have been one way that I would be able to see it. Instead, I'd already stamped her twice, and then I just cut around it and kind of made my own little pattern, I guess. But yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. But I love it. It's probably my favorite part of this card. I love it. So this paper is actually from, I believe it's the Magical Celebrations. It's the kind of Disney themed one. And it's just a black and white polka dot. And then I thought, okay, I need to tone down the white just a little bit. So I brought that obsidian ink back in, and I'm taking some of it off with the paper towel just to kind of remove like most of it. I had black all over me. How I didn't get black all over this card, the world will never know. So for her dress, I used BV26, I think, just a dark purple. It's like you're barely going to be able to see it. I'm going to cut her in half. Sorry, Lydia. And you're not even going to see it. And then for the camera, I brought in a black glitter gel pen. And again, you can't really see it. Now, when I cut out an image, I like to go around it with a black marker. You saw me use a Copic earlier, but this time I'm using a water-based marker, and this one just happens to be from Stampin' Up. Fun fact, I have had this marker since 2014, and it has not dried out. So, yeah. Anywhoosies, so here's a look at the little Polaroids. So, of course, Lydia is going in the biggest one. I'm going to put her in, and then I will end up eventually trimming her out. But isn't that so stinking cute? It's so stinking cute. We're going to get the spider web done. And all I did, well, the spider web took a little bit longer. I should have ran it through a second time because the black I used is a very thick black, and I had a hard time with it. Anyway. So I'm going to flip these over, and I'm going to adhere them together with some washi tape, and then I'm going to glue them down because there's no overlap. Like, it fits exactly in. And I knew that Lydia was going to be popped up, so I thought, let me just put some washi tape on it, and then I'll get some glue and get it laid down. And that's what I did with that. I can't remember if Stamp Anything has Polaroids. I need to look again, but I don't have them if we do. So yeah. Okay, so here I was like, oh, I'm going to stamp on this and the sentiment, and I'm going to use the orange to bring in the orange and blah, 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 blah. I don't know where this paper come from. I am not kidding. I have no idea where this paper came from, but it's slicker than snot, and it just smeared. The whole entire thing smeared. And I was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So what I decided to do was add a little bit of black, and then I kind of wiped it down, and then I looked at it and I thought, you know what? I need to do this to the whole thing. So you're going to see me do that. But I was just like, what is this paper? What is it? So I don't know what it's slick. I don't have anything like that except for some plastic paper, but that's in a completely different place. So I don't know. So anyway, I added some orange, and then I added some black, and then I just kind of used my paper towel to blend it out. I considered doing it on the other ones, and I'm like, I will get it all over this card base, and I will hate my life if I do that. So I didn't. One thing we didn't see is when the spider web was still on its backer sheet, like in the cardstock, I went over it with the glitter, like a brush, it's a Spectrum Noir brush. brush. Oh my God. Anywho, it's sparkly. I've wanted it to sparkle because they sparkle, and I probably should have put that on clear, but that's a story for a different day. So once Lydia gets on there, I did want to play with the spooky, and I love this font. So I don't know if Anne drew this font or if she picked up this font somewhere else, but I love it. So I backed a piece of black glitter paper with the double-sided adhesive and got that adhered. And once I do that, this is done. I apologize that I did not have the coloring in this video. I must have gotten up to go to the bathroom. I honestly cannot remember, and I apologize for that. But you can see there wasn't a whole lot of coloring. And if you want to see some really great coloring of this image, be sure to check out the Facebook group. If you want any or part of this collection, don't forget you can sign up for Stamp Club. All of the information, all of the supplies I used will be linked in the description box down below. I went ahead and took this picture. I was just taking a picture so I could send it to a friend, and I was like, you know what, I like this picture. So we're using it, and I hope you like it. So anyway, that's it, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next Friday for another Fannie Friday. Bye for now.